sister Emma is looking for the perfect gift.
This is all a misunderstanding.
How'd the jewels get in your mouth?
I thought it was a lozenge.
And her son Hank is celebrating the joys of single parenthood.
Listen, Madison's been doing this weird thing. If you could not laugh, that would be great. Grandma and Grandpa are here. Can you say hi?
Hi, Madison.
You're such a jerk.
It's that time of the year again. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the three films for Friday the 13th of November 2015. Not a lot of memorable movies, as you can see from that first one there. But we do eventually get to one that has probably the most interesting backstory I've ever seen. And the movie itself is just a parallel to so many other things related to the stars of that movie. We'll eventually get to that one at the end. But we're starting off, of course, with Love the Coopers, the latest Christmas film that's trying to cash in on the Family Stone, this Christmas, nothing like the holidays method of, ensemble family comedies coming together. Families coming together for Christmas, and coincidentally, this is produced by the same man that did The Family Stone. And as you can see, it also features Diane Keaton, who was also in The Family Stone. And needless to say, this ain't no Family Stone. The plot follows an imperfect family who's reunited for the holidays as seen through the eyes of an unexpected narrator. A narrator that you don't see in the actual movie. That you don't hear that voice in the actual actual movie. That's a different voice in the trailer, but guess what? It's Steve Martin. Who is Steve Martin in the movie? It's Rags the dog. This whole movie is literally centered with a narrator being a dog played by Steve Martin. That's actually the least stupidest thing about this movie because, man, this movie is a gigantic mess of a film. The biggest difference between something like The Family Stone and this is that The Family Stone had characters you wanted to get behind. It had a story. It had stories that you wanted to follow. It was very emotional because it was well done. It did well in its emotions. This is literally a movie where they're trying to copy that magic again because it's been 10 years since The Family Stone. So clearly we needed another movie that's like this, but yeah, it's not like this at all. And it's CBS Films, and of course CBS Films was notoriously known for taking movies that were basically scripts that were from other studios who thought that this was too much for a theatrical release, but CBS Films is around the corner going like, we'll take it, and then they make movies off of it, and yeah, the end results are films that are largely forgettable, and this one is definitely largely forgettable, which just sucks because it's a cast that includes notable names like Alan Arkin, John Goodman, Ed Helms, Diane Keaton, Jake Lacey, Anthony Mackie, Amanda Seyfried, June Squibb, Marissa Tomei, Timothy Chalamet, one of his early film roles, Olivia Wilde, and as I mentioned, Steve Martin. But then you look at the director of this movie, and you realize, oh, okay, now I know why this movie ended up being as terrible as it was. This is directed by the same guy that gave us Karina, and also I Am Sam. You know, that movie where Sean Penn tried to win an Oscar so badly he had to go full retard to do it, and it didn't even work. Yeah, this director right here did that, folks. And yeah, it doesn't work because this cast is so much better than the actual script at hand here. It's just not a good movie, man. It's a lousy film. It wastes a lot of really good talent on a story that should be on a movie that probably could work. I mean, The Family Stone worked because of the great cast and the good emotional moments in here, but this is a movie that you could tell is just trying so hard to be the next Family Stone and just failing miserably at it. And yeah, it's just a bad movie. And luckily, I think this is one of the last movies to have this type of a Family Stone type of aspect to it. Almost Christmas comes out the next year, and it's a much better movie than this, but even then, the gimmick was starting to get old pretty quickly with that setup there, so anyway, that's Love the Cooper, so let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is The 33.
We may be looking at a weakness in the mountain's internal structure. She's an old man. It's my job to keep this man safe. Shh.
Well, congratulations, you failed at the one job you had to do, and now 33 miners are probably going to die because of you. Is what would happen, except this is of course based off of the true story of the 2010 Chilean miner disaster where 33 miners were trapped inside and yet all of them survived, and And this movie essentially is that story, with Antonio Banderas, Rodrigo Santoro, Juliette Binoche, James Brolin, Lou Diamond Phillips, Gabriel Byrne, Bob Gunton, Adriana Barraza, Kate Del Castillo, Cody DePablo, Oscar Nunez, among the cast involved in this. It's directed by Patricia Regan, who did Under the Same Moon, and more recently just did G20 with Viola Davis. And, you know, this is a movie where it's fine, but it really does feel like a movie that's trying to be the equivalent to the Chilean miners disaster as the World Trade Center movie by Oliver Stone was to the 9/11 attacks. But the differences between that and the World Trade Center movie is that World Trade Center had a really more compelling story to tell, and this one tries to have a good story too. There isn't a really intriguing story about these miners who are stuck in this mine, and you would think that they were going to die because of this, but they all survived. But unfortunately, the movie tries way too hard on a formula gimmick. It's a movie that's trying to be more epic and more serious than it actually is. This is an incredible story that all these miners survived this tragedy, and you would think that there would be some effort to at least try to make a film that's grander and more epic without trying so hard for that Oscar. And you could tell that this movie is trying so hard for that Oscar while also trying to. There's even a little bit of a movie like The Towering Inferno or The Poseidon Adventure, like those old Irwin Allen disaster movies, and you can see it in this film. And because of that, the movie loses a lot of an identity of what it's trying to accomplish, and by the end of it, you're just kind of like, what was the point of even doing a movie like this? I feel like there was a really good story that could have been told here in the right way with a better director and a better script overall. I mean, if there was a better script involved, I think this probably would have been really good. But as it is, it's pretty lame. It's a really lackluster film based off of an incredible story that I feel like could have been primed for a really, really good movie. And sadly, it's just not there with this movie. You could tell that this film was rushed immediately because they wanted to cash in on the zeitgeist of this here in general. You know, kind of like more recent movies have done recently, like the She Said movie, where, you know, they're trying to cash in on the Me Too movement, which was something that, you know, the Me Too movement was not meant to be something to be cashed in and made into movies, people, but studios apparently didn't get the memo on that front. But anyway, not much more to say about that one. That's the 33. But let's go ahead and get to, the heck was that? Let's go ahead and move on to what is easily the most intriguing movie of the entire weekend. It's a movie that is so weird, so bizarre, and I have a conspiracy theory that this thing led to the divorce of its two stars, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And Angelina Jolie's directorial follow-up to Unbroken. This is By the Sea.
You hate me? You want to hurt me?
You're nothing.
Hurt me. Come on. We could be happy, you know.
Rated R. Now playing in select theaters.
Yeah, spoiler alert, they couldn't be happy because not too long after this, they eventually got divorced. And which leads to the fascinating question of whether or not did this movie play a part in that. And from the trailers, you can definitely tell Angelina Jolie had some personal demons she wanted to get out about her relationship with Brad Pitt. But you probably don't remember this movie because this movie only had a couple of very small trailers, 90-second trailers that showed nothing of the plot. It opened very quietly in theaters, and like 10 of them on opening weekend, only making about $96,000, and didn't even go on to become that big of a hit at all. It only cost $10 million, and yet it only made $500,000 back. It was thrashed by critics, and it took 9 months to get an official DVD Blu-ray release. I mean, by the time this movie came out, the summer movie season was already in full swing in the theaters when this movie came out on Blu-ray. And, you know, within a span of a year, everybody kind of forgot about this movie. But the big question is it an important piece of Hollywood history? Did it actually predict the divorce of these two people? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the film and find out. This is set in France during the mid-1970s. We have Vanessa, played by Angelina Jolie, a former dancer, and her husband, Roland, played by Brad Pitt, who's an American writer, traveling the country together. They seem to be growing apart, but when they linger in one quiet seaside town, they begin to draw close to some of its more vibrant inhabitants, such as a local bar, cafe keeper, and a hotel owner. And the plot alone really does sound like something out of a Terrence Malick art house BS movie, where it's more important than he thinks it's more important than it actually is. I mean, having actually watched the movie recently, just before the split happened, because it happened less than a year after this movie came out, I honestly can give you a proper review list, and let me tell you, this is not a very good movie. It's a boring, bland film as you expect it to be. It's bad. It's a really, really bad movie. There's so much about this movie that fails on so many levels. The concept I guess the whole purpose of it is trying to be like a cinema verite style art house feature, like Fellini's La Dolce Vita. But here's the problem: trying to make a movie like this, a cinema verite art house style film in 2016, is extremely hard to do, because most audience today don't like slow moving movies, because it will get boring quickly, and soon there'll be people screaming in the audience going like, "Hey, bring on the explosions," or "Get naked," or something. Like, that'll happen with a movie like this. But unless something exciting and interesting happens, there's none of that in this movie. Like, a movie like Eyes Wide Shut is a perfect example of how to do a modern-day cinema verite style movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and what makes that work is that it works as a slow-moving cinema verite style film, in that there's intriguing storylines to follow, there's intriguing characters to follow. It looks at how you handle marriage when you have fantasies about sex with somebody else, and when your significant other tells you about a fantasy that they have about somebody else, and it doesn't sugarcoat the details. Like, it gives you the flat-out cold hard truth about how you can approach a situation without going overboard. The questions of how to handle love, marriage, and fantasies the main couple have in that movie are brought up very well. It's not afraid to step up the ante and let you think about both the logistical and unrealistic situations of everything that's going on in the film. It asks a lot of questions and lets you, the audience, figure out what the answers to those questions are going to be. Like, you know, both Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman worked well in Eyes Wide Shut. It's one of the few times in history where working with your spouse doesn't affect the film itself. When the couple who are dating and are married in real life work together in a film, the results can be catastrophic. But here, in Eyes Wide Shut, it works really well. By the Sea, on the other hand, has none of that. And the film suffers because its concept is so bleak and its story doesn't work very well. You know, Angelina Jolie, she shocked a lot of people the year before when she did Unbroken, which was a good film, a serious drama that was directed very well, showed the potential of what she could do as a director, but none of that shit was in this movie. This felt like a mix between a bad soap opera mixed in with a bad perfume commercial. The biggest problem By the Seas has is that, it shocks me the most, is that Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have no chemistry together in this film whatsoever. Their characters in the film have nothing that you feel is a connection, and for a couple that's been together in real life for over a decade to not show any chemistry whatsoever, that's depressing, man. But then again, it goes into the long talked about feelings about Hollywood and how you never work with your spouse, because 99 times out of 100, it never works really well. And it's interesting because back in the day, Box Office Mojo actually put a list together of movies with people who were dating each other and how they did financially, and the results were very mixed, to say the least. Like, the biggest success was the Twilight films with Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart when they were together. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which was the far better Jolie Pitt collaboration, was on that list. There's Something About Mary with Cameron Diaz and Matt Damon, who were dating at the time. Most of those times, films with people who were dating each other didn't do so well, like Proof of Life with Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan, Cobra with Sylvester Stallone and Bridget Nielsen, Dreamhouse with Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz. They didn't do very well at all, so who thought that By the Sea would be the film to buck that trend? No one. Now, I'm not the one to fall for most conspiracy theories. I think many of them are bullshit, like most people do, but in the case of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's split, I think there is more than enough evidence in this film to convince me that this was the reason why the relationship came to an end. This whole film just felt like Angelina Jolie's cry for help to get her out of this relationship. The whole movie is basically just watching Jolie and Pitt bickering and beating each other up and getting into so many uncomfortable fights. It's a soulless, heartless, and unpleasant mess of a film on so many levels, and it really does show that this film was the reason these two split up for good. There's a lot of moments that feel like they were way too real. It didn't feel like they were scripted. Like, this felt like one of those, it felt like a reality movie. Like, you know, back in the day when they tried to do reality movies, you remember stuff like The Real Cancun, or From Justin to Kelly, except those were terrible films. This really felt like, this is what a real reality movie looks like, because you can tell Jolie had a lot to get off her chest with her relationship, and it shows in this movie. It is one of the most uncomfortable, most unpleasant, and most heart-wrenching messes of a film to watch, and if By the Sea wasn't the entire reason why this relationship ended, it played a huge part in it. So, I'm saying that this is not a good movie, but I'm also saying that if you want to see for yourself the proof that this is the reason why these two broke up, I would actually recommend checking the film out. You're going to get a bad movie, but it's a movie where you look at it and you have to watch closely to see how Jolie and Pitt act with each other in this, because I guarantee you, this film was the reason they broke up. I strongly believe that's the case. This will I thought maybe this would have a cult following, but it's been largely forgotten since then. Of course, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have moved on with their lives here, and I think it deserves a little bit of a look again to see did this film actually cause the breakup? Because I fully believe this movie caused the breakup of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. I really do believe it predicted the split 10 months prior to it actually happening. Like, it's a fascinating movie. It's not a good movie, but I would say watch it if you want proof that this film broke up a relationship, because it definitely shows that Angelina Jolie was using this as a cry for help. But that's my thought on that movie in general. So that is By the Sea. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. We'll head into pre-Thanksgiving weekend with a couple of new releases, including the conclusion of the Hunger Games saga with The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, the much better Christmas movie released in 2015, actually one of two, that are very outside the norms of a typical Christmas film, The Night Before with Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie in a much better Christmas movie this year because he was in Love the Coopers. We have STX Entertainment with their latest film featuring Nicole Kidman, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and who else is in here? I can't remember the last face in here. Is it Julia Roberts? That's Julia Roberts. I completely. That's not a good sign if I can't remember a movie with Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. But with a title like Secret in Their Eyes, that's probably the reason why it's so forgettable. You certainly won't forget our next movie where Rooney Mara and Cate Blanchett have a lesbian love affair. That's Carol. We also have Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy in dual performances in Legend. So 5 films to take a look at on the pre-Thanksgiving weekend. We'll take a look at them coming up on the next episode. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.